Next is the good of the cause, where members of the public are invited to express themselves on school-related matters of concern to allow for orderly public meeting. Individual comments are limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public are reminded this is a televised meeting. And if you have a particular student or staff issue, first we need you to address that with the appropriate administrator. Anyone wish to address the board this evening? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Dana Zimbicki, President of the East Brunswick Education Association. I'm speaking to you tonight, once again, about the grounds department. I have many serious concerns, however, tonight I want to focus just on one. As you may recall, the last time I spoke to you about this issue was July 13th, 2017, and the major focus of my concerns was the privatization and outsourcing of this department through grass cutting. At that meeting, we were reassured by Dr. Valesky that the grounds department simply did not have enough resources to get the work done. And we were also told that private contracting was done to simply supplement what they were already doing. We were also told that the grounds department had 6 people, and when 1 or 2 of them were out, it would create a problem for the grass cutting crew. Additionally, Board President Simmons also stated there was no interest in replacing the groundsmen and that their jobs were secure. So despite your reassuring comments at the July 13th, 2017 Board of Education meeting, the grounds department is still experiencing the same issues, the same concerns. In fact, I think they're worse. For some perspective, since March of 2018, and this is looking at the whole department, grounds and maintenance. Since March of 2018, 3 members of the maintenance side of the department have either retired or resigned. 3 new people were hired to replace them. In fact, as of the job postings today, 1 additional painter is actually being sought for this department. That side of the department is experiencing growth. Additionally, a management position, the maintenance foreman, is also being board approved tonight. On the other side, the grounds side of the department, we are still functioning below staffing. Currently, as of today, there are 5 men on the employment rolls. 2 of the 5 men are currently out on disability, and 1 position is still vacant. This position has been vacant since August 28th, 2018. Both Dr. Valesky and Mr. Simmons have recognized that there is the need for proper staffing in order to keep the district's grounds exceptional. Yet there has been no movement whatsoever in hiring for this vacant position. Ironically, the grounds foreman position became vacant in September. It was immediately posted, and tonight you are going to approve the hiring for this management position. It's troubling that this management position was posted and filled, yet we are still waiting for a grounds position to be filled from August 28th. It's concerning as to what message is being sent. What is the future of the grounds side of this department? We want to believe that you do actually value the work and dedication of this group, but actions speak louder than words. We are disappointed, and as I stated before, there are many serious concerns with this department, but I hope this one is immediately addressed. And in closing, on a more positive note, the week of November 12th is American Education Week. Tonight we were invited here to accept the American Education Proclamation. I would like to thank the nearly 1,500 teachers and education support professionals who teach and care for the children of East Brunswick each day. I would also like to thank the members of our executive board for being here tonight, and also some of the members of our unit. Thank you very much.
Dr. Zimbicki, don't go away, because while you're still up there, Dr. Valesky and I will come around, and we'd like to present you with this evening's certificate, which I didn't see was a certificate until a little bit ago. So if you stick around, Dr. Valesky. I know we've already done a proclamation, so I will put this one behind you. But, there we go. So we have the whole association. Please introduce who you've got with you, if you would.
I have with us tonight Vice President Mike Wilderman, Treasurer Jenna Lyons, Director of Support Staff Florence Talercio, and our ESP Committee Chair Lucy Bertona.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. And on behalf of all of us, as we already said, congratulations and thanks for actually being the reason we have American Education Week. So, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go right through the agenda. I'm going to actually ask for a motion on the agenda. For Board of Education, item number 1, policy, we're going to actually take this off the agenda this evening, and we're going to, as a full board, consult with the board attorney on that particular policy at a later board meeting. Any other items that need separating? Okay, may I have a motion for this evening's agenda up through when we get to old business?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs.
Second.
Shaw, second by Mrs. Becker. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Shaw.
I had a question from our personnel agenda. It is for workshop presenters, and typically we see presentation hours around 1, preparation hours around 1, but on page 9 we have for parent training 19 hours of presentation and 29 hours of presentation. And I was just wondering why there is such a significant difference here, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the parent training.
We'll have our HR director, Mr. Girio, explain it.
Okay.
That's a very good question.
Well, thank you.
We have many different types of workshops that our staff present. In fact, our staff present 99.9% of our workshops because they're so amazing at what they do. So typically, like a family math night, for example, we may have someone prepare for an hour and present for 2 if the event is 2 hours. On a staff development day, it would be an hour of preparation and then maybe a 5.5-hour presentation or maybe a half-day presentation. The parent training is a little bit different. We have some IEP-driven parent trainings that take place in an authentic environment, so it might take place in the classroom after hours, or it might even take place in the home. So the presentation hours are driven by the student's needs, and I'm pretty sure that's what you're seeing.
Okay.
Anything else? Will the secretary please call the vote?
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Sismar?
Yes.
Mr. Hong?
Yes.
Mrs. Lax?
Yes.
Mrs. Reese?
Yes.
Mr. Seeler?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
President Simmons?
Yes, motion carries. We have no old business. Go to the cause, committee reports, et cetera, for the board. We have already heard from the high school, so what else we've got? Mrs. Becker?
A week ago, Wednesday, I believe, Barbara Reese and I had the privilege of attending the library gala. And this year it was in celebration of children's literacy. And Barbara and I were both just overwhelmed by the support in the room and the people who have dedicated themselves to children's literacy. The library is a natural partner for a school district, and we just want to commend them for another wonderful year and everything that they have done to encourage the love of reading amongst the children of East Brunswick.
All right. Anyone else?
It was a beautiful evening, and we were honored to be there. And it did, like you said, the more partnerships we have with the library, the better.
Great. And that dinner always seems to coincide with the board. I'm hoping maybe in the
I
future.
hear they're working on it.
That would be great, because I think they'll have some pretty high attendance from
Absolutely.
this table.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Lax?
On Monday, Mr. Sesmar and I went to a lunch and learn on security, and now that we have my security expert, it was actually really rewarding to see how far ahead of the curve, because a lot of the things that they were suggesting, and I know this was kind of a sales pitch.
Where was
for-
this, Laura?
This was, it was in Bridgewater, and actually, it turns out, I don't know, they're meeting with us, Eastern Datacom. I actually brought back the binder. But what was interesting was a lot of the things that they talked about were things that we were already ahead of the curve on. So there were some good tidbits I felt we picked up. I won't speak for Mark. But it was actually very comforting to hear that a lot of the things that they were suggesting to districts about the way that they're handling their security forces were things that we already had in place and were doing. You know, so a lot of what they were doing were teaching schools to be doing lockdown drills and a lot of the drills and how to do drills that we've been doing for years now. So.
Did they talk about, besides the armed guards, did they talk about things like the vestibules and the IDs,
They didn't get
using
into that as
technology
much because a lot of what they were doing was, it was a security company, well, it was a company that was trying to sell something that helped you with your lockdowns. So one of the things that it did, so they were focusing on that part of it. So a lot of the things we do, like the vestibules and the data, you know, the entry points and the lobby guard and things like that, this was more how to get out the message. So if you're gonna do a lockdown, it talked about, you know, the hot zones, you know, where something potentially harmful could be taking place, and then the warm zones around it, and then people that had no idea that could be across a building. So this talked about things like, they had, the strobe lights, things like that, because you'll have areas like hallways or gyms that are noisy areas, that if you're calling for a lockdown or a drill or, God forbid,
and they
something,
won't hear it.
you wouldn't hear it. So they talked about that. They talked about the
great point.
outside of the school. So they were giving you ways to actually get the message across. It was more built on that. So that was their focus on security. I don't know if you want to add to it.
I was just, you know, I'm always skeptical when I go to a sales pitch, but I have to say, you know, I was impressed, and I want to echo Mrs. Lax. You know, we are doing the right things here. We are ahead of the curve. And like I said, the things that they brought up, you know, I was impressed. It's like, yeah, we're doing that, done that, you know, so, but we're still not done. You know, we look at it every day, and I appreciate Dr. Valesky, Mr. Giuliano, and the rest of the board, Mr. Figueroa and Mr. Natalicio on the security side. I mean, you know, I'm impressed with what we do here. So, but we're not going to stop. It's never going to stop. You always have to look at it every day, you know, for our kids, our staff, and our visitors. So, thank you.
Thank you guys for going.
Let us stay ahead of the curve.
Anyone else? Mrs. Chu?
Dr. Valesky already talked about the Unity Walk that was held by the Human Relations Council, but I just wanted to thank the fellow board members who attended, along with staff and all the community members who came out and just made this expression of love, support, understanding, just coming together as a community to show support for those who were killed in Pittsburgh the prior week. It was really touching and a really wonderful evening. So thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Sorry, I would also like to mention, off of what Mrs. Becker had mentioned before, the library does contribute a lot, and I know that very certainly. They actually held a presentation at the high school, telling kids about all of the different opportunities that they could incorporate into their classrooms, including the arts programs, because of their new makerspace, or volunteering programs that students could volunteer in, which includes having a first look at advanced reader copies of different books. So overall, that was a very interesting experience that was brought to the high school. Even some seniors who haven't gotten their library cards have officially gotten their library cards. So it was a learning experience for a lot of the students at the high school.
Well, if you think about it, you don't have, you can read, you can have access to a library through your own cell phone, let alone your own laptop or anything. But when a lot of us were your age, the library had a lot of books. And the library was where you would go as a student to research, and you would take out books, and it was the resource. We didn't, when we did term papers or things, we didn't have internet sources. We
Card catalogs.
Microfiche, yes. Microfiche. And Todd is like, what?
Dewey
Books?
guys are dating yourself.
So if you think about it, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge for libraries to remain relevant today. And I think that the East Brunswick Library has done a great job of remaining relevant. And it's definitely a challenge, an uphill battle. And I give them a lot of credit. And I'm glad to hear you guys have got library cards. Awesome.
And it's interesting that you mentioned about books, that there's a saying, something to the effect that Google can give you 1,000 results, but the librarian will find you the right one.
Right.
And so there is still a great relevance for the
That's good.
library. And I also attended the Unity Walk, and I just wanted to say it was very meaningful, and I thank the organizers for putting that together. It's not an easy feat, and we're very lucky to live here in East Brunswick. It made me even feel more lucky to live here because people from all different backgrounds came together after a really horrific occurrence, and it made me proud that people of all religions came together and stuck together. And we've had other atrocities for other ethnicities as well here in the United States, where it's been at churches and other mosques and so forth. And I think the fact that we still reach out for each other is what makes me hopeful for the future for our children.
And one last quick shout out for Human Relations Council has a project called Diversity Rocks.
Oh, yeah, that's very
And
nice.
so at many of the recent events, East Brunswick Day, so forth, they invite community members to paint messages of love, respect, unity onto rocks. And those rocks were placed, so if you do go to the library, take a visit to just, I guess, there's a tree in front of the pond as you leave the parking lot. The rocks are there, I hope they're still there, and you can see a display of the rocks that were painted by our community members placed
great.
there. It looks really lovely.
Anyone else? Good, okay. We do have a need for closed session, so may I have a motion to go into closed session for the reasons in the printed agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs.
Second.
Becker, second by Mrs. Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.